At the opposite end of the table, Wolverhampton have had a very, very tough start to the year. Fosun has secured a £677 million loan. Will that be used to invest back into Wolves after kind of a lack of investment the past couple of years?
Well, you're right. The loan is for Fosun, and apparently it's come from 25 different banks in China, and that's, I think, probably the biggest private loan, as I understand it, ever seen in China. So the vast majority of that is going to go into their property deals, which Fosun is their main business. Wolves may see some of the money, but not much. I think they're going to try and battle it out to stay in the Premier League without too many resources, and they've got the big question of the manager coming up with Gary O'Neill. So that's another issue they've got to look at. But you're right, they've had a bad start. They know that they're in the danger zone already. But I don't think Fosun's got that money to bail them out, that's for sure. I would be surprised if anything more than 50 or 60 million comes Wolves' way.
Yeah, and you mentioned Fosun and that money. There are reports that they want to sell a stake of around £75 million and then reinvest that into the team. Could we see movement on that soon, maybe soon enough for some January improvements?
Yeah, that's what I understand they're focusing on. They've done this before when they have actually sold about 10%. And then that has been either taken back or somebody else has bought it. So there is, history for Wolves doing something like this. That will be their main way. I think that they will try and find money for the January window, and I believe that there is some very close to being final about a 10% stake. I think it may be up to about 12% stake in the discussion. So that's where I think Wolves fans should be looking for any input rather than Fosun bailing everybody out.
And we talked about Wolves' difficult start to the year after obviously they sold so many key players and have done so over the past few years. Does this make it more difficult to try and sack Gary O'Neill due to the financial situation of having to pay him off, bring in another manager, and try and get it all right in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I think it does. I think O'Neill proved last year he can do a good job. He has lost a lot of the squad, and it'll take him time to get it turned around. Although I've been watching some of the results and the actual games themselves, and Wolves have not been showing that resilience. It's not as though they've been losing games, in the last minute or in a very sort of a slim way. There's been some pretty comprehensive thrashings, so there are some flashing signs there. But I would trust O'Neill to bring him round, and I think Wolves have to do that. The fan unrest, of course, is starting to show, and they will want to change at some stage, but hopefully the majority stick with him. We've seen it with Everton, when you get in that zone, for a long time during a season. But the fans, if they stick with you, you can help pull the team through, and I hope Wolves can do the same.
And Wolves have added Visit Lauderdale as its destination partner for the 24-25 season. What kind of financial impact can that make? Does that potentially help with some money for January transfers?
No, it's going to be a very small sponsorship, and Visit Lauderdale, with Hurricane Milton coming as we speak, I don't think many people will be going to Visit Lauderdale at the moment. But certainly, it's not going to be a big sponsorship. It's not a huge money spinner. It's going to be one of those smaller categories. But nevertheless, look, every pound should be a prisoner for Premier League clubs, and it's a good sign that Wolves are getting out there and broadening their sponsorship base. But it's certainly not a big one.